Yo, what's going on, guys? This is your boy Anviled here, and I'm back with Sarah. What's going on, Sarah?
You know, it's been a mixed bag today. Just like Latios lately. Haha.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So this is a new series we're starting, guys. We're gonna be going over Fallen Titans, and for those of you who may be adding us for copying Blunder and Joey's title, no, we are not laddering with Latios this time around. We're just gonna be talking about why Latios has fallen. So this is gonna be one of those videos where we just talk a lot, but hopefully you guys will understand why Latios is not used as much anymore, and give you some reasoning as to why.
Yes, so
Uh,
we've admitted he's bad, so why are we going to ladder with him? Like, come on.
yeah, yeah. Uh, so
Let's get into
starting
it.
off, yep, yep. So a couple of Latios's previous roles. So if you guys watched ORAS in like 2016, you know what Latios used to do. He used to switch into, those extremely strong special attackers like Keldeo and Charizard. Used to scare him out with Psyshock and Dracos and stuff like that. Also used to be able to defog versus them too. And then it was also just a strong special wall breaker in general. When you thought of dropping Dracos in 2016 meta, you were thinking of Latios, not Hydreigon. So yeah, that is a little bit of what Latios used to do back in the day. Um, and then maybe Sarah can talk about what happened to Latios. Poor guy, man. Poor guy.
Oh, I don't know. He just wasn't taking his vitamins, I guess. But, um, you know, people, I guess, discovered, like, how good Pursuit is, I guess, maybe. And, like, Weavile in particular and stuff like that. And, Sand's always been good, so Tyranitar's always a threat. And, I don't know. I think there's just so much more, knockoff spam and Pursuit and U-turn. These are all things that Latios does not really care for. And yeah, I don't know. The meta game just kind of evolved or or shifted past it, so it kind of struggles to fulfill most of these roles. Which also it doesn't even like really need these roles anymore because Charizard isn't really oppressive at all, besides to the person using it. And Kelly's kind of gone down lately as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Oh, when we talk about
Um,
defog as well. The dark types, like we mentioned. So you may get a defog off once, but then they'll just bring their dark type in and either pursuit you, knock off, maybe sucker punch you. So it basically gets the rocks um, out of the way once, and then that's it. So not really
yeah,
the best use of a team slot there.
and even as like a Draco user, the metagame has shifted in such a way that there's plenty of mons now that can eat up Dracos. So I think I wasn't around back then, but I heard that Tornadus T used to be Life Orb. So now that it's max, like close to max HP AV, you can easily take a Draco from Latios. Not to mention the usual pursuit trapper like T-Tar. But
Mm-hmm.
we also have like plenty of steals now that people are using, like Spadef Drill can eat some, and then Metagross, of course, Jirachi, Ferrothorn, Heatran, and then you have some mixed Draco switching. So you have stuff like Hippowdon that can also eat your Draco if need be. But usually what happens with Draco, a lot of Latios's moves are like very punishable. Like a Draco usually lets your opponent set up after, and the same thing happens with Defog too. So the way the metagame has shifted, if you put yourself in a bad position like that, you become set up fodder for something else that can sweep your team immediately. So that is one negative about the sharp, especially in today's metagame.
Oh, sorry, yep. No counter arguments for me.
All right,
Shall we move
so
on to the
moving
next?
on.
Yes.
Yep. All
Okay.
right. So what happened?
So it's kind of a
Specifically,
continuation, I guess.
Yep, yep.
So
So like,
yeah,
few,
we mentioned. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep talking over each other. So we mentioned like the
what's up?
metagame shifting. So here's the shifts we're talking about. So you can start us off.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. So, first of all, the speed tiers got faster. I think back in the day, the main speed tier that everybody was, huddling around was 350, and a lot of things at that time were hovering around that. Mega Metagross, for example, 350, Mega Dynasty 350, Latios and Latias 350. Keldeo was around there too at 346. Thundurus around there at 353. So, a lot of things bundled up over there. Then slowly, as the metagame shifted, stuff like Lopunny was used more. Then speed tier shifted a little bit more. Then AV Tornadus was used more. That shifted more towards the 370 speed tier. And then stuff like Weavile 2 became popular versus offensive teams. That was 383. Talonflame 2, really solid. Superior, now 357. Starmie, the speed tiers just shifted faster and faster, and people using more Choice Scarf mons like Choice Scarf Tyranitar, Choice Scarf Landorus, Choice Scarf Rotom, Choice Scarf Magnezone. Everything became way too fast, and then Latios really lost its niche of being a fast defogger. And usually, if you wanted to go for defog in that day and age, using a fast defogger, you'd go with Latias because at least you had enough bulk to possibly live a pursuit from most of these mons if they weren't like Choice Banded T-Tar or something like that. Um, but yeah, nowadays like there it's very hard to get a defog off and safely, and you'll most likely get punished. You'll invite something really bad in, like Weavile or T-Tar, or you just give the opponent momentum with Tornadus, and then they can just U-turn out and and then bring their rocker back in. So that's really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe Sarah can talk a little bit more about webs, which I think, in my opinion, I think that was also a huge change to severely decrease Latios usage.
Yeah, I think when web started getting more popular a few years back, that's also when we started seeing Latios dip a bit in usage because pretty much like most of the webs mons or mons you'll see on webs tend to either uh, really scare Latios out or just scare it from like a click and defog. So we got Bisharp, of course, with the Divine Boost and Sucker Punch and all that stuff. But even stuff like you might see Hoopa. Some people run Scarf Hoopa as a form of rap. Yeah, as a what you call spin block. And that also can pretty much live most attacks, especially from like a Scarf Latios, and then knock it out back with like a Shadow Ball or something. Then you got stuff like Azu, which if you're like choice locked in to like a defog or whatever, it could just belly drum up and sweep you. There's just so many like things that take advantage of Latios coming in and clicking like any of its moves. Like pretty much like most of its moves will lead to it either like fainting right after, or becoming setup fodder, or causing it to switch. And yeah, what else? Oh, Mega Scissor, also pretty popular on the webs. You'll see, and both your stabs don't or not very effective on it. And if you're on HP Fire, then you're probably running like a bad Latios anyway, so you already lose that part. But yeah, it's just not like a great matchup at all for Latios, and a lot of those mons are also seen on other playstyles too. And I don't know, it just isn't like as much of a niche for Latios with the advent of like all these um, bulky steel types, fairies, and knockoff abusers.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and yeah, similar to what Sarah said, that's a similar issue on screens too. It's basically like there's very few differences between webs and screens, in terms of sweepers, because the same sweepers on webs are gonna take advantage of Aladios, similar to what screen sweepers do. So Thunderous is seen on both, for example. Thunderous will, come in on defog Latios and then start setting up nasty plots. Manaphy can do the same thing, where it can just set up a tail glow. And then with screens, you have the additional problem of Volcarona 2 and Superior. So Volcarona can, it can set up on a choice like locked Latios pretty easily, get up a Quiver Dance, and sweep your team that way. Superior is unique in the fact that it has contrary. So if Latios tries to defog, Serp will get an invasion boost, and that is also pretty annoying. Um, and yeah, and and this is also another thing about the speed tiers getting faster. So you have Screen Serp, which is faster than Latios. It can go for taunt, prevent you from defogging whatsoever, and then just get up the screens anyways, and then proceed to sweep your team. So that's also another thing about goes against Latios. And then if Latios tries to like revenge kill anything on these webs and screens teams, they just let something else set up for free basically once they drop their Draco. So it is really you know a high risk low reward mon nowadays since the metagame is so offensive. Um, and then screens counterplay. So what we mean by that is the mons nowadays people are counterplaying screens with the strong wall breakers like Mega Alakazam, Choice Scarf Landorus, Weavile, which have really decent matchup versus screens.
Oh, Lopunny
Um,
and Metacham,
yeah,
say.
Lopunny, Mega Medicham, Mega Pinsir. What else? Talonflame, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those mons are used more, and the main thing with them is extremely strong priority. So even if Latios is faster now, he still gets punished because of these priority moves. Um, so he can't even defog versus them. So yeah, it is really like bad time for Latios in terms of defogging at least. But we'll go into more detail regarding what it can still do later on. But really, the main thing is things just punish it really badly for clicking any move. And the way the metagame is now with the plethora of offensive threats we have, defogging usually isn't the best way to go with this mon. You probably just want to go all out offensive, unless there's like really no other choice. But to be honest, there's always a better choice. Usually, if you want to go for a defogging dragon, just go for Latias because that has better bulk. But we'll get into that later on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I will say though, if you are gonna use Latios, like just accept you're not gonna get much utility out of it besides just clicking like either Life Orb or Specs,
yeah,
attacks there, which again, are pretty easy to take advantage of, but they still do hurt. We're kind of like underrating it, or not say underrating it, but we're kind of like criticizing it a lot. But it is still Latios. It still has like pretty strong moves, pretty great speed here. So it's still threatening, but just less and less things than there used to be. All right, I guess I'll continue. So, what is Latios outclassed by? So the roles that he used to have, who are doing them now? Who took its job away? So for
good
defoggers,
job.
there's many defoggers. So it's a sister, Latios, a better defogger. And even though they're very similar, Latios is a little bit more defensive. All right, you're not really relying on Latios typically to be like an offensive powerhouse. It also has better support moves, whereas Latios only has like Memento really to like maybe halt setup, which actually doesn't even help if you're doing it against like a Bisharp or something, right? Latias has Healing Wish, which is pretty great. It's a it's a great screen setter with that speed tier and natural bulk. But we're just saying defog though, so Latias just has more things going for it defensively, and you want your defogger to be able to take some hits because when you're defogging, you're pretty much you're being passive, so you're letting the opponent hurt you back. So you typically want something that can take a few few more hits. And we got Zapdos, which is probably in our opinion the best defogger in the tier. So Zapdos has momentum. It has better coverage. It's got better defensive typing. It's not as scared of most dark types. Well, I mean, it doesn't really like a choice banded Tyranitar, but it can outrun a choice banded Tyranitar. It can Volt Switch out. It can, Heat Wave an incoming Bisharp. So it's got a better matchup against the other mons in this tier. Also, it's got pressure, so it can actually like stall out the rocker if they don't have like a toxic or something.
True, true. That's a good
And then we got Mew, which also psychic type, but it's a pure psychic type. So even though it's still got the dark weakness, it has better bulk. It's got much better supporting move pool, especially with stuff like Will-O-Wisp. Still has recovery, and it's got taunt also, which none of these mons have besides Mew. So they're more threatening to an opposing team generally. Like for defog, it's hard to stop them compared to a Latios.
yeah, yeah. So next up is main one of the main reasons it was used, which is pseudo Keldeo switching. So now, as Sarah mentioned, Keldeo isn't used as much anymore. Um, and honestly, it's rising a little bit in usage, but I think the main reason why Keldeo dropped off was because people started using Slowbro as the switching by just switching those EVs around into more SPDEF, so it lived two Hydros. So that was one reason for Latios dropping, at least because there was a solid Keld switching that actually had regen. And Slowbro, honestly, like it can live many dark hits. It can easily stay in on Scarf Tar. Um, Banded Revive becomes a bit of an issue, but you can take a pursuit from full, like no problem. Um, and then the other thing is Tornadus T. I believe it used to run a more offensive set with Life Orb. So once people changed to AV and realized it could switch into uh, majority of special attackers pretty easily, then people stopped using Latios because Latios couldn't grab momentum with U-turn and didn't have utility and knockoff and stuff. So people started to use Tornadus more. Tornadus had really nice options with knockoff, heat wave, U-turn, uh, and Hurricane is very annoying stab to actually be hit with if it actually does hit. Um, and the main thing is also it has regenerator, so it can just take in take hits from Keldeo. You turn out it gains the HP. It lost back, which is very nice because it with Latios has to recover, and that also puts it in a very passive state and makes it very pursuitable. Um, Also, Tornadus has a very nice speed tier and being 375, so it is faster than Choice Scarf Tyranitar, unlike Latios, and it's faster than stuff like the Choice Scarf Magnezone and the other Lati, so it's faster than Lati or other Latios or Latias. Um, and also, I should also mention like Pursuit Mega Metagross. It's faster than that too, unlike Latios, which kind of speed ties with it. Um, and yeah, I'd say because of those, Latios, lost the niche of being like an offensive Keldeo switching.
Yep. So
Oh, sorry, I didn't mention Latias, but I think Sarah
yeah,
had the
wait.
main
Yeah,
point that
sorry.
Latias is being
Yeah, I got
overrated.
ahead of myself. But yeah, Latios has got better bulk and does other things.
Mm.
And utility. So yeah, sorry, I kind of like did everything all at once, but yeah, Latias is pretty great with screens. I mentioned the healing wish, which the healing wish in particular is like really good because if you think about it, if you memento something, they could just switch out and then they'll just stats back when they come back in. But
Yeah,
when you healing wish something, right, then it's like, oh crap, now the Mega Metacham is back at full, or oh no, they healed their Volcarona. Like it's way more scary for the opponent to deal with than a memento, typically.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, like it's just such a scary move. And then T-Wave Colbur, which Latios also takes better advantage of because, like we said, better bulk. You T-Wave something right after, and then they can't kill you with knockoff probably because you already
Yeah,
lost your item, and then they're also paralyzed. So they pursuit you after, you did something, and then they probably won't kill you anyway if they pursuit you because you're Latios, and it's more expected for you to run bulky. Because if you're running if you want like something defensive, like you're not gonna like use Latios for that because for one, it's got worse bulk, and then two, it's meant to be offensive, So if you're not using it the way its stats and move pool are conducive to success, then you're gonna have a bad time probably. So there you
mhm,
go. So yeah, yeah, Latios has to be offensive really to be worth using over Latios. And if the offense isn't really clicking or putting in work, then you can see why it's here and not the high in the viability rankings. At least at the moment. Who knows what will happen down the line?
true, true.
All right, I guess we can move on to the next. I think it's the final slide too, right?
Yep, yep, that's right.
So what can it still do? Specs and pray. That's what I like to say. Specs and pray.
Yep.
So I see this on the ladder sometimes. Usually like relatively low, but if you want to just go all out offensive, right? You don't care about dark types and pursuit trapping and whatever. Just run specs. You get the most damage output. Like I said, if you're running Latios, you're playing offensively. So just do what it's supposed to be good at, and just click those specs Dracos, those specs psychics or size shocks, and those spec surfs or whatever. And then yeah, just hope they don't have a dark type, or they'll bring it in stupidly, or you'll get enough damage with the surf before they are able to attack you. So it's a I'll say it's a glass cannon, but like it's just a very exploitable wall breaker. But it is still a wall breaker. And
Yep, yep. And we should mention that like if you're using like a Weavile compared to like a Tyranitar and stuff, it is very hard to, make the actual move of switching into Latios on a predicted default. Because if Latios Dracos you, the Weavile is gone. And if you think like if you're planning on coming in on a defog and it takes you out, then Latios can kind of go in. But the problem with that is like usually like people won't risk that and they'll send Reval in after they sack something. So just be aware of that. But though, yeah, like Sarah said, you could pray that they just go hard Reval on on you and just take it out. But most of the pursuit mons in the tier can take a Draco pretty comfortably, like Mega Metagross and D-Tar and stuff.
yep, and even Bisharp, honestly, I think unless it specs maybe, and it has
Oh,
like some chips. Actually, I don't know the role on that, but I would assume a Bisharp can live it. Maybe not comfortably,
mhm.
but it probably could live.
Yeah.
You guys can look that up on your own. To this, and then speed control.
Yep, yep. So for speed control, um, people may run Scarf Latios. So Scarf Latios can outspeed stuff like +1 Volcarona, +1 land or Choice Scarf Landris, and take it out with the Psyshock or at least chip it down with Psyshock and or Draco on Landers. Um, I've seen Amir use like T-Wave Latios. I don't know if that's recommended, but he said you can catch stuff like tornadoes with it. But I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. Um, but yeah, the main if you wanna be a speed controller, usually it's a Scarf Latios, which honestly could be pretty solid versus offensive teams. But you have to really make sure you can like punish the mon that comes in after you Draco. Like for example, if you do like uh let's say you Draco a Thunderous on screens and if Volcarona comes in, you have to make sure you have like a Talonflame or something in the back to take care of Volcarona. Otherwise it does bite you in the back.
Yep. So it still, yeah, it still has good speed control for a lot of things, but Anvil mentioned earlier, it it does miss out on some nice things like Thunderous or you know Tornadus, some slower Scarfers. So yeah, well, if you're on, like I said, if you're on the Scarf set, then you're really inviting a lot of potential exploitation. Okay, let's talk about the coverage now. So the stabs, even though they're not as good as they used to be, prior to Fairy's introduction in ORAS, I mean in Gen 6, Giant Psychic and Water are all really good like neutral coverage options. Like they all hit a lot of stuff like neutrally at least, and coming off like that 130 special attack stat with like a boosting item, it still hits really hard. And that's Draco Meteor also we're talking about. So that's a high 130 base attack move. So it's if it's not a fairy, it'll still hit pretty hard even if it's a resist for most things. So it's still hard to switch into unless your name's like Empoleon, which shout out to Empoleon. But yeah, I don't know. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's got other things too, like a T-Bolt and the Energy Ball, I guess, and the Shadow Ball, which I don't know why you're in Shadow Ball on Psyshock, but yeah, these are the main ones. So usually like Draco, Psychic, or Psyshock, and Surf.
Yeah.
Usually the ways you see it.
And then another thing with coverage is it does have some options to hit certain mons. So people could run trick on their Latios to catch fairies or steals that want to come in. Most notably like Clefable and Ferrothorn. So if you trap those mons, it can become setup fodder. Those mons can become setup fodder for teammates, which is really nice. And then Lottie can also possibly get back lefties and regain HP that way, which is also pretty nice. There's also some niche coverage options, like I know Life Orb Latios used to run like Earthquake at times to catch Heatran, and that could open up teammates like Talonflame and Volcarona, which could benefit its teammates pretty well. I'm trying to think of other niche options. Can't really think of anything else besides like EQ. I know Sarah said HP Fire is bad, but yeah,
Yeah, it is an
I
option.
think
It is an
yeah,
option.
it is an option. Yeah.
Oh, I
Um,
can explain why it's bad. So this is
yes.
pre Gen 7. So if you do use HP Fire on one of your Pokemon, it'll take you'll never have perfect speed. So you'll always be slower than non HP Fire land versus Latios's. So the max you'll hit is 349. So you'll always be outsped by opposing Latios's and opposing base 110s. And you don't even one hit KO the things you would want HP Fire for, which are Ferrothorns and Mega Scissors. So that's why I think it's bad. But it could still be good. It could still be you know at like the late game situation, right? Things are weakened and you want to like finish them off. It could do that.
Mhm.
I just don't like. I personally just don't think it's worth it. That's B tier.
And I think Sarah already mentioned this before about Memento. Um, I think X-Ray had a team where he was using like Gen 6 Drag Mag with like screens Memento Latios. But like Sarah said, it's mostly better to use Latias with the Healing Wish because first of all, like if you're if you Healing Wish into the right mon, your opponent's gonna switch out anyways, like they would from Memento. Like if your opponent has like a Heatran, and right, I keep thinking of Lunar Dance, but if you keep healing, if you Healing Wish into like a Manaphy, for example, they're gonna switch out of their Heatran anyways. At least your Manaphy's at full. Whereas if you Memento, you lose your Latios, and then people are gonna switch out anyways versus you. So yeah, it's not really the best at times. Um, I'd also want to say that I think the rise in Manaphy usage and its dangerousness is also attributed to Latios not being used as much anymore. Because I think Latios had a good chance to Oko the normal Manaphy from full with the Specs Draco. But at the same time, I think Manaphy is running like way more bulk, so it can eat Draco pretty comfortably now.
Mm.
So I think that's just one thing I wanted to mention. But if you are looking for something that can, outspeed Manaphy and possibly KO it, maybe you can put a Latios on your team.
Or maybe like a
But
if it's a if it's like Rain Dance, Manaphy, if that ever becomes like the main set, you can run like Thunder on it, I guess, to counter it.
true.
That could be
Actually,
free heat.
I am starting to wonder if Thunder could be a possible option on Latios, because Tornadoes love switching in on that thing, and then even if like your opponent goes into the T-Tar and it gets paired somehow, you could possibly escape pursuit trapping if T-Tar gets paired. So
Oh man,
it looks like an interesting option.
and I kind of want to try that now. That sounds kind of heat.
Mhm.
Look at that.
Uh,
Oh, and another thing about Memento also to think of it like you can think like this. Confuse Ray, you don't really see that much competitively because unlike other status moves, like Toxic, Will-O-Wisp to burn, and T-Wave, it wears off if you switch out or just on its own. And that's the same thing as Memento. So and I keep saying that, but like Healing Wish, like you get back like your damaged Pokemon back to full. So it's almost like you have like a seventh Pokemon on your team. Like you,
yeah,
maybe you like take a burn with your Metacham, but then you knock out the Rotom, and then you come back Healing Wish it, and then it can like threaten the rest of the team that the Rotom was supposed to deal with.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And something else like with Healing Wish is if you have a Mon that's like about to die with from hazards, like say you have like a 45% Charizard Y and you want to bring it in and you're afraid of it, like it can't come back in technically because you like you don't want to defog first of all because your opponent probably has like a threat or something, and you want to try to bring the Zard in, you can bring the Zard in if you Healing Wish, because it'll go back up to full, then it'll take the hazard damage, so it'll still be alive if you Healing Wish into that, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I wanted to mention something else about Latios too. I think if you're trying to use Latios now, right? Like, say you're insistent on using Latios no matter what. Um, I would say pair it with something that can capitalize on pursuit, I would say. So like maybe if you paired it with Azumarill, a bit like Belly Drum Azumarill or Volcarona, that like if Latios tries to defog and it somehow gets up pursued, those choice locked mons like T-Tar and Weavile become setup fodder for your Volcarona or your Belly Drum Azu. So people will be more hesitant to pursue you in the first place, which could be really nice. So I just say, capitalize on Latios's weakness. Use it as a lure for your other mons. Um, if you're using like, you see, this is just Latios, not Mega Latios. I think Mega Latios can still put in work, but that's another video. Um, but yeah, it is just to summarize again, it is a fallen titan because number one, the speed tiers are faster now, so it can easily get knocked off by Torn. It can get pursuit trapped by Scarf, Titar, Banded Weavile, that sort of stuff. Um, Priority is a big thing now in this offensive meta, so they can always chip down Latios that way. Serp can taunt Latios. Uh, Defiant Bisharp is still pretty popular, has a decent time versus offense, so that can punish defog. Serp can also punish defog with the evasion boost and taunting Latios in the first place. Um, so many steals running around, Mega Metagross, Jirachi, Excadrill, so many fairies running around, Mega Altaria, Diancie. Clefable, of course. It really can't. Latios really can't get it going because it's usually outclassed in most of the roles it can perform now. Back in the day.
Yep. I guess that's about it. And I think we exhaustively went over everything about Latios, why it's struggling to find like a place in the tier, or at least to reach the same heights it did back in the day. Anything else, Anvil, or you think we're good?
I think we're good.
All right, guys. So, if you liked the video, please leave a lick, chime in the chime echo box, ring the bronze on to subscribe, and also, if you guys have any other Pokemon that you think are good and it could or were good and are no longer doing as well as they once did. So if you have any fallen titans or potential fallen titans, leave a comment, or I mean, or leave a Chimeco comment, or well, you know what the hell I mean. So leave one of those. Leave a word on the bottom of the video of a Pokemon that we can talk about in the next Fallen Titans video. Jesus, that
Oh,
was hard to get out there.
all right, guys. We will see you in the next one.
All right,
Peace.
later.